Welcome to News Panorama, coming to you live from NTA Network Center, Jos. Plateau State Independent National Electoral Commission concludes arrangement for the collation of pending Plateau Central Senatorial District election results. Stakeholders move to curb tuberculosis infection in Plateau State, plus agricultural farmers. Felicia Dalio, Samaila. Do remember you can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and on YouTube channel, NTA News Online. You can also visit our Facebook page, NTA Network News, Twitter at NTA News Now, and Instagram, NTA Network, for updates. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says he is satisfied that the foreign media and think tank institutions abroad have conceded that they got a wrong impression over the 2023 elections, particularly the presidential polls in Nigeria. The minister stated this shortly after his engagement at Chatham House in London. Anthony Fosun reports.
The Information and Culture Minister was in Washington, United States. From there, he proceeded to London in the United Kingdom. Throughout, he engaged high-profile media organizations as well as think tanks, some physical, others virtually. In all, he capped his engagement in London with his meeting at Chatham House.
The good news is that our mission was very successful. We were able to really correct the imbalance in the reporting, and we are living today with a better feeling, because most of the people we met actually agreed with us that they had been misinformed and that they had over-relied on the social media hype. We actually pointed out many things to them. Many of them are not even aware of the requirement to win elections in Nigeria. That it's not just a matter of priority of votes, and that you must also win a quarter of all the votes cast in at least 2/3 of the states. In Nigeria, that means 25 states. And when we told some of them that Labour Party, scored 1/4 of votes cast in only 15 states, they were shocked. And we told them there's absolutely no pathway to victory for either the PDP or the Labour Party, because they did not meet the constitutional requirement.
He equally noted that the foreign media must learn to understand the Nigerian cosmopolitan nature, especially when it comes to election matters.
Again, many of them were confused that, if a Labour Party won 12 states and PDP won 12 states and APC won 12, how come then that the Labour Party was not declared winner? And we explained to them, look, it's not enough for you to win 12 states. What you score in other states are also important. We explained to them that yes, they all had 12 states, but the presidential candidate of the APC came second in 19 other states, and that the margin was very small, and that was why it was not possible for you to declare the Labour Party the winner.
Lai Mohammed summed his outing in the US and UK this way.
I'm glad that we are leaving US and UK satisfied that we have better informed the people and the perception is changing.
Ministry of Information and Culture has set up a committee that will develop a strategic plan for the 3 sectors under the ministry, in line with the 2021-2025 Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
The Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan was developed to help civil servants fully actualize government's policies and programs. The convergence of these heads of agencies under the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture Directors of Human Resources, Planning and Research is to sensitize them on the strategic plan 2021 to 2025.
We are developing training materials that becomes available for all our NDAs. We will also digitize or digitalize these training materials so that you are in your office, you have undergone that training before, and you could not remember this or that. You can just go to our portal and click, and you can do what? Refresh.
Participants were also sensitized on how to develop sectoral strategic plan for the 3 sectors under the ministry.
Ministry of Information and Culture is not a small ministry. In some clime, information alone, the budget is as close as security budget. Because what are you squaring if you don't have information? So we must present ourselves as capable of handling such. If we relinquish our rights, then we have ourselves to blame.
Structures provided by the executive order.
The forum also examined the legal and institutional framework of the Presidential Executive Order number 14 of 2023, which provides for the Presidential Transition Council. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
And on other news, less than 7 weeks to the end of his tenure of office, President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to the Grand Kaaba in the holy city, Mecca. His mission to say thank you to Allah for his numerous blessings, guidance and protection in the execution of his mandates, as well as pray for sustainable peace, unity and prosperity of Nigeria. Adamu Sambo has details.
Umrah, otherwise called the Lesser Hajj, is an act of great significance for the sake of Allah and amongst the best deeds Muslims can perform when pleasing Him. Apart from the bountiful rewards to be derived as well as forgiveness of committed sins, all prayer requests made here are considered granted. For President Muhammadu Buhari, who is rounding off his 2-term tenure of office, there is no better time for this ritual of remarkable consequence than now. And in line with the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the President, accompanied by members of the first family, traditional rulers and religious leaders, with humility, reverence, utmost concentration and sincerity, performed tawaf, circumambulation of the Grand Kaaba, as well as sa'i, going between Safa and Marwa. Intermittently, prayers were offered for both personal and greater interests of the Nigerian nation.
This is significant for him, firstly, to finish very strong. Throughout the Umrah, President was busy praying for Nigeria, for development, prosperity, peace, stability, and many more. And he prayed for a very successful transition of his administration to the incoming administration.
He has done the best for the country, as he has always said. And the time for him to go is now. And so his prayer is of thankfulness to the Almighty for making it possible that he has attained that aspiration he has harbored for so long, fought so hard to achieve. And for the nation, President Muhammadu Buhari is prayerful, is also hopeful that God will help those who would succeed him, hold their hands and lead them so that they will build on the successes that he has recorded in the 8 years of his own administration.
This is the 4th time President Muhammadu Buhari will be performing the Lesser Hajj since coming to power in 2015. During his stay in the holy city, expected to last about 1 week, prayers will continue to be held for divine intervention in the affairs of Nigeria.
This country doesn't belong to him. It belongs to all. He only happens to be the leader. So the way he prays for the success of the country is necessary for all citizens to pray for Nigeria. And secondly, to pray
to some electoral matters ahead of supplementary elections scheduled to hold across the country tomorrow. Independent National Electoral Commission, Plateau State, has been directed to collate the pending Plateau Central Senatorial election results. The resident electoral commissioner in the state, Dr. Oliver Teso Agundu, disclosed this in Jos at a stakeholders meeting. Alisa Batukai Andrew has details.
Recall that the result of Plateau Central Senatorial District election was not declared. As a result, no return was made due to issues which needed further clarifications.
At that time, the issue before us was that a particular ward in Kana local government, precisely Gambi ward, result was mutilated.
The commission then set up a committee of 3 national commissioners, director and deputy director electoral process, to verify the issues raised and determine if a return can be made.
The committee findings are as follows. 1. That 34 polling units in Gambi registration area of Kana local government, which were alleged to have been cancelled, were found on the RF and have physical copies of EC8A. 1. 2. A replacement EC8D1 was deployed and used to recollect the votes for the registration area after the original was badly mutilated by the RAA collection officer.
The commission directs as follows.
That a new returning officer for the Plateau Central may be appointed to conclude the process in place of the original returning officer, if that one too should be highlighted, if he or she is no longer interested in continuing with the process.
Chairmen of various political parties and some stakeholders in their submissions commended INEC for the initiative, urging aggrieved members to channel their grievances to the appropriate authorities if the result is announced. The State Police Commissioner represented at the meeting promised to deploy adequate personnel to function for a successful exercise. In Jos, Alisa Batukai Andrew, NTA News.
And on health issues, Plateau State Government has inaugurated a State Advisory Committee on Neglected Tropical Diseases with a charge on members to work with terms of reference for the realization of the stated goals. Mary Replong-Damtur reports.
Neglected tropical diseases are a group of bacterial parasitic diseases numbering up to 20 that affect people in poor living conditions, mostly in the tropical and subtropical regions where there is lack of environmental sanitation. Some of the tropical diseases include guinea worm, rabies, schistosomiasis, trachoma, among others. Creating awareness on tropical diseases and taking ownership of the program by beneficiaries is among the terms of reference of the 17-member committee inaugurated by the Plateau State Commissioner for Health.
To reduce the morbidity, disability and mortality due to MTDs via prevention, control and efficient management.
Representation of the Federal Ministry of Health and State Coordinator World Health Organization said the constitution of the committee is timely as it will be of immense help in eliminating neglected tropical diseases in Plateau State. Co-chair of the committee and Executive Secretary, Plateau State Primary Care Board, Dr. Linus Miakwap, noted that the committee will facilitate collaboration between government and partners to eradicate neglected tropical diseases in Plateau State. In Nigeria, about 122 million people are at risk of tropical diseases, and the inauguration of the State Advisory Committee on Neglected Tropical Diseases is expected to follow the path that contributed to the elimination of onchocerciasis and schistosomia in Plateau and Nasarawa states. In Jos, Mary Replong-Damtur, NTA News.
With statistics from the World Health indicating that tuberculosis is the 13th leading cause of death and the second leading infectious killer disease after COVID-19 in Nigeria, Plateau State is taking concrete steps to curb the spread of the infection. The reports. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease, a contagious infection that affects the lungs and can also spread to other parts of the body like the brain and spine. The infection is caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is commonly transmitted when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Medical experts say a lot of people have the infection but are unaware due to lack of tests, as in every 100,000 people, 219 are infected. To curb this infection and also reduce its risk factors, Plateau State Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control Program is exploring all measures as well as partnering non-governmental organizations to find a way out.
Ministry of Health in Plateau State estimated about 10,000 TB cases. However, we have only been able to achieve about 3,600 TB cases as of last year, and it really means that we all have to put all hands on deck to ensure that we diagnose the other missing TB cases.
They also identified local governments where cases are already prevalent, to include Jos North and South, Mangu, as well as Shandam. The experts emphasized that TB testing, counseling and medication are all free, advising people to take advantage of the opportunity to go for examination. Okay, discussion on that will come after this break. Stay with us.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
We have in the studio Dr. Maxwell Joseph Jublik. He is the Program Manager, Plateau State TB and Leprosy Control Program. Sir, you're welcome. Yes. From that report we just watched, there are 4 high-burden local government areas of Plateau State affected by the disease. Please, can you shed more light on that?
Okay, the local governments are Jos North, Jos South, Mangu and Shandam. Given the prevalence rate in the country of 219 per 100,000 TB cases, it follows that these same high burden local government areas are the 4 most populous local government areas in the state. So that makes it's evident that with that high population, they too will tend to have more of TB cases.
Okay, now on a general note, what is responsible for this infection and what is the state doing to address it?
Like I said, the 219 per 100,000 cases, which is the prevalence rate for the state has been able to, we follow the national guideline for TB control. There's the vaccination, BCG vaccination for children and birth, then prompt treatment after diagnosis, because it's an airborne disease, so it can be spread. Then we contact trace people who are close contacts of patients with tuberculosis. Then we make sure there's infection control in our facilities and also in other places where people gather. Like for individuals, we ask them whenever they're coughing, they should cough into their bare elbows or into a handkerchief and dispose of it. Then ventilation, which is very, very important too. Ventilation, we have poor housing and living conditions in the country. So we tend to make people taking care of people with HIV, with TB, to make sure the ventilation is good in the house, and then open windows, and then enough sunlight, because sunlight too can kill the organism. Then they should wear a face mask if they are coughing. And then in our laboratories too, we have extractor fans and UV irradiation light, which kills the organism.
Okay, how effective are these control measures that you have mentioned? And then what is the compliance rate by the public or those affected?
That's why we keep going. We create awareness, like we do here now. Media awareness. We create awareness about the disease so that people know that yes, TB is a killer disease. Then we work with government to get counterpart funding for us to expand treatment centers for our facilities, because we have only 510 out of 1,470 facilities that are offering TB services. So we work with government to make sure to expand the services, delivery points for TB treatment.
Okay. Already in the states, there are 4 high-burden local governments, and of course, some other local governments are also affected. Yeah. Now, what's the way forward towards combating or curbing the disease in the country, in the states?
Okay. In the state as well as the country too.
Yeah.
We try to make sure, we try to reduce, work with government so poverty can be reduced, malnutrition can be reduced, then health inequities. Universal health coverage is very important for us for them to come. And then funding. Funding is very important because Global Fund funds part of it, and then sometimes we get counterpart funds, sometimes we don't. And if we can commit resources like we did during COVID-19, the actions taken and all that happened, the funding and the actions, that will help eliminate TB by 2030, which is the target.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on the program. Dr. Maxwell Joseph Ghibli, Program Manager, Plateau State TB and Leprosy Control Program. Let's join Olumide Guntola for sports updates.
Nigeria's female under-18 national handball team will attempt to continue a superlative performance at the ongoing IHF Women Trophy African Zone 3 Championship Friday, when the team takes on their counterparts from Cote d'Ivoire. The team defeated Liberia and Ghana in our previous matches. In grassroots tennis, about 44 junior tennis players are taking part at the week-long Universal Tennis Registration Point Tournament in Lagos. The age-grade developmental tennis tournament, which is in the under-12, 14 and 16 categories, is put together by the Tennis Players Parents Association. The focus is to create more tournaments for the young players that will give them the opportunity for scholarships and also be rated anywhere in the world.
The TPPA basically is a platform that we feel we needed to put together to allow kids, to get enough tournament, enough playing time on court.
We find out that most of the coaches, they are able to get through with players when parents intervene.
In football, match day 13 and 14 take center stage this weekend as club sides in the Nigeria Professional Football League are determined to achieve their targets for the season. Nasarawa is up against Gombe United. Enugu Rangers will entertain Niger Tornadoes. Abia Warriors will lay ambush for Sunshine Stars, while Dakada will be the guest of Rivers United. Situation is not different in the English Premier League, as top 4 is still open to table toppers. Aston Villa will trade tackles with Newcastle United. Chelsea will attempt to improve on its standing against Brighton and Hove Albion. Wolverhampton Wanderers will lock arms with Brentford, while Manchester City host Leicester City. With sports updates, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
That ends Panorama today, but just